Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Eric Hill. I'm actually the NEOS Academy instructor today. Along with me, I'll have Lauren Ruth. Hey, Lauren.
Hey, Eric, and hello to everyone. I am the Knowledge Base Administrator, and I'm going to be helping along with some questions and also introducing you to the knowledge base at the end of the session.
And then I also have Raina. She's going to be my co-host. Please, if you have questions, concerns, put them in there. Let those two answer those questions the best they can. I'll turn the question and answer off because I can't focus on too many things at once. So I'm turning the questions off. I, again, appreciate everybody's attendance today. This is why we do these things, to present and show you more about NEOS and make it better for you. So the big thing is, let's get started. Starting in the NEOS housekeeping, we're going to start with our firm preferences and our settings for security. And the reason why we do that is because not everybody should have checklist items, or the firm may not want everyone to have checklist items to be able to add, edit, or modify those items. So if you go to settings, permission groups, find the permission group you want to adhere to. Go down to directories. And you want to make sure that auxiliary and primary checklists are checked, enabled, so they can at least use them. But if you want to add, modify, or delete, you can turn those items off. Again, they have to have those permissions to be able to do those things. So your administrative group, definitely when you go to your administrative role and you go look at the same ones, they're going to have all of them blue. Mm-hmm. Good.
Yep, no questions so far.
Sweet. We're going to stay in the settings because we're going to start looking at our primary checklist. We're going to go to case types. And again, each case type is going to have its own primary checklist. So don't think that just because I've created an MBA, it's going to go to MedMal or family or whatever it may be. Each one of them has their own. And we're going to show you how to copy a checklist here in just a minute. As I scroll down, I go to MVA. I get my primary checklist. Once I'm there, I can see our tree view or flat view. And again, next to the add, I see that tree and flat view. When you see flat view, it's showing you everything in order. When I see the tree view, when you see those, the little drop-down arrow, the child task, you can see that that item has child task that's also associated with it.
And just for reference, that number next to the little icon, that is actually going to tell you how many child items branch off of this parent item.
There you go. Cool.
Yep, still no questions so far.
Awesome. So going from there, we want to build our checklist. So again, we've gone into the case type. We go to the primary checklist. I want to add an item. When we add an item, we're going to add that task. What are we doing? Code. We want to give it that individual code so that item can stay not only color coded, but also try to group those items together. So all of our A's mean something, all of our B's mean something, all of our C's do something. Again, follow up, color, follow up, 45. And I always separate them in 1s, 5, 10, 15. Because the thing is, if you go in and say 1, 2, 3, 4, what if something else slides in and what should be number 3, you can't make room for it. You have to adjust it and make that change and move all of those items from 3, 4 to 5 to 6. Where if you give it a little space, you've got growing room. So if you have 1, 5, 10, 15, 20, you can still fill in a 2, a 3, a 4 down the road. Because again, all of these things we think about, oh, that'll never happen. And then of course the court changes, rules change, the firm changes, and we want to add another item. It should go in front of 2. So we definitely want to have a little bit of room there. Once I've got my code, I can then color code it to whatever color I want. Referencing.
Yeah, so the references here, they are going to be what you use as a trigger date. They can be any sort of any of the case dates that you have on the case, or another checklist item. In order to use another checklist item, you just type in the code or select it from this list here. And then the last option you have is a manual reference date. If you choose manual or man for manual, then you're going to have to go into the case and manually add that due date for that checklist item. Back to you, Eric.
Sweet. So then the staff that's going to be assigned to that item, is it single or repeating? Is it auto repeating? Again, days for due date. How many days do I want this item or this follow-up to be followed up on? 20 days, 30 days, 40 days, whatever it may be. And again, it's going to run off that reference date. Has it been phased? Is it limb applicable? One of the things I want to talk about, is it a limb date? A lot of firms will put limb dates in there that aren't true limb dates. A true limb date is a court-appointed date that needs to be adhered to, i.e. your statute of limitations date. Now, I know in New York, if you're going to file against the city or a instance, you have to have a pre-suit or a pre-date, an intent to file date, a file date, and then the 2-year or 3-year statute actually starts running. Those are limb dates, not, hey, we need to get this to the court or we need to get that to the court. This is true a statute of limitations where a true date could fail the case. So please be cautious and careful when you're adding limb dates. Document, if we want a document associated, i.e. a template, to be created, so I don't have to go to the case docs tab, create that document, and then come back to my checklist and say, okay, I did it. I can do it all from right there. Same with the form. Is this an active or an inactive checklist item? And then any instructions that I want to get to the staff when they come into those items. If you see the client portal invitation instructions, you can see those instructions right there.
All right. And then Eric, we do actually have a couple of questions. One of them wants to know if we could go more in depth on what the acronyms mean for the reference column.
Oh, sure. Do you want to cover that or you want me to?
Sure, I can. So as you can see here, there's thank you, Eric. Sorry about that. So as you can see here, there's like the @01, @CP. Those are, if you look over on the left under the code column, those are going to be checklists, other checklist codes that exist within this primary checklist. If you see the dates like first answer received, answer due date, if you keep scrolling down, there's a few more. Those are all of the different case dates that are set up in this case type setup all the way to the left. If you look under general and labels, that's where you can set up the case dates. And there's that'll probably be another NEOS Academy, but there's a different setup for that as well. And then if you continue to scroll down, there are some like MAN, M-A-N, that's going to be a manual reference item. There's going to be case dates that are standard across every case type, like case open date, which you'll usually see as COD. And then you'll also see DOI for date of incident. And let's see. DOC. Do you happen to know, Eric, what DOC stands for?
I want to say, I don't want to say
Date of.
date of completion because I know it's not a date of completion. I would definitely have to look that date up and see.
Yeah,
it's going to be one of our case dates.
Gotcha. Yeah, so but the standard ones that come with NEOS are DOI, date of incident, and COD, case open date, as well as MAN, which is for manual. And go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, and limb date too, because those limbs run off the date of incident.
Exactly. And then we did have a question from Jeff where he asked, what is the difference between repeat and auto repeat? So when you set an item to repeat, it's going to go ahead and prompt you once you mark that item as done in your case checklist, if you want that item to go ahead and repeat and apply to the checklist again. Auto repeat is going to automatically go ahead and repeat those items.
So I'm not getting that second tier of, hey, or do you want to repeat this item? It's automatically going to repeat it as soon as I complete it.
Exactly.
Yep. I hope that answers your question, buddy.
Yes, exactly. I'm going to pick just one more for now so that we can then go ahead and move on.
Sure.
Let's see. For man codes, is there a setting we can select to prevent them to automatically going into the checklist once a primary checklist is selected? That's a great question, Cecilia. Not that I'm aware of. I believe that as soon as if the item is referencing a manual, manually, like so that you can type in the due date, then it's going to automatically be entered into the checklist as soon as you create a case. But I can definitely double check and we can get back to you on that one.
Definitely.
But yeah, sorry if I wasn't able to, ask every single question. We'll go ahead and continue to try to answer that, type answers to you guys as well. But I'm going to go ahead and let Eric continue onward. Thank you guys.
So again, that's adding that new item and getting that item added to this checklist. Cool. So again, we're going to add child task if that's what we wanted to do. And again, that comes to the second one. We can see all the details about that item. We're going to send that client welcome letter and those things there. So that's been associated. So once that actual checklist gets applied to the case, again, anytime you save an item, says you've added a new checklist item. Would you like to add it to all existing and open cases? Any items with the manual reference will be added to any cases and intakes. Any items with the case date reference will be added to the case date if it's populated already.
All right, so right here, this pop-up right here is just letting you know that you have added new checklist items, and it's letting you know what checklist items to this checklist. Would you like to add these items to existing open cases and intakes? Any items with a manual reference date will be added to those cases and intakes. Any items with a case date reference will be added if the case date is already populated. So if there's not a date in that case date field, then it's not going to show up on that case or intake yet. Back to you, Eric.
Right on. So one of the big things that I always get questions about is limb warnings. And why is it in here 3 times and 4 times and 5 times? Because each checklist item can only be assigned, this 1 week can only be assigned to one person at a time. So the first time it was assigned to the attorney, then it's assigned to the case manager, and then it's assigned to the paralegal. So you may have to enter that code or that checklist item 3 different times or 4 different times to make sure it's going to all of the correct and right people. So please be cautious and careful of those things too when you're adding those items. And again, there's a huge difference in a limb and a limb warning. Cool.
Yeah.
So one thing too, when we start building out our checklist is we want to look at these filters, right? Being able to say, hey, I want to see what's been in intake. Apply that filter. In that same vein, if you come into a primary checklist and you're like, there's only 4 things or 5 things here, clear those filters.
Exactly. Yep. And then press apply, and then you'll get all those items right back. Is it okay if I answer a couple more questions, Eric?
Sure, let's go.
All right. Laura, she is asking, is a limb warning basically a reminder?
A limb warning is 100% basically a reminder to warn you that, hey, this true limb date is coming up.
Alrighty. And then Lorraine is asking, hi, does a staff member have to be assigned to each case in order to use the checklist and assign tasks to said staff member?
No. The thing that comes with it is this is assigned to positions. So Eric can be assigned to this case and not be a case manager, an attorney, or paralegal, or any of those, and still do these items.
Alrighty. And then let's see. Sorry, they just keep coming in.
They
so
just
thank
keep
you guys
coming.
so
I
much.
warned you about this.
No, thank you for that warning. I'm going to go ahead and let you carry on, Eric, and I'm going to go ahead and try to keep answering these with typing answers to them.
Not a problem. So keep typing away.
Aye.
So again, we've added this item. And again, this checklist comes in. At any point, if we're like, you know what, send medical questionnaire. I don't want to have that anymore. You can always look at that item and deactivate it. I always tell people, don't delete it, because you never know when something may change and it may need to come back. Just deactivate it, go to details, deactivate it, and go from there. Good?
Yeah.
All right. Anything? I'm going to keep going.
So Bob is asking, what does the limb warning look like to the user? Is it a pop-up?
So when they come in the morning, they're going to see that limb warning just like here.
Exactly.
So this is my checklist, things that I'm assigned to. And of course, I've been a bad boy and haven't done everything I'm supposed to do. But that's exactly how it'll look. Good? And that's why it's so imperative when you open Neos in the morning to look at that checklist items, to pay attention to those things. Don't dive straight in. Look and make sure that there's nothing past due, overdue, or a limb date that is truly coming up in the next day or two. You definitely want to adhere to those things. Good?
Yeah, we're doing well.
Awesome sauce. So now that we've got our primary checklist done, it's here and we're ready. So anytime we go to a case, in the checklist, we're automatically going to see those items. So when we saw that send client welcome letter and we associated that document to it, you see now under the doc number, it's got that plus sign. That tells you that, hey, there's a document, generate the client welcome letter, all associated to that checklist item. Again, I see all of the items that need to be set here. If I click on it, it's generating that document, and it put that document in the case docs tab. So I don't have to go to the case docs tab. Notice it marked it done because I have created that letter and got it ready to send out. Good? So a lot of people will build checklist items and they'll say, you know, there's 50 things we want done in the first 60 days, 180 days, whatever it may be, the time frame for the firm. And then again, I've got other firms that say, you know what? That's so overwhelming that when I create this case, I don't know what to do first. So I always say chunks or little pieces are better than trying to eat the whole pie at one time. Take a slice. Take the first 10 things you want done. The initial letters, the welcome letters, the referral letters, all of those things. Get those done first, and then you can always add an auxiliary checklist. In that same vein, we've got this one set up, but say this case goes to litigation sooner than it would. So we've got something in a litigation that's 120, 180 days, down the road, but litigation takes place in 30 days. I can always add that auxiliary checklist, choose litigation, or that auxiliary checklist that I've set up, and add that auxiliary checklist.
All right here, this is a pop-up that does show you staff role and case state references. So it's letting you know that they are adding the auxiliary checklist items, but if they reference a staff role that does not exist within this case, then it's going to go ahead and assign that specific checklist item to whomever is selected as the primary staff in this case. And then with the case state references, if that checklist item is referencing a case state that doesn't exist in this case, then it's going to go ahead and switch that reference from that case state over to a manual reference date so that you will have to add in the due date manually. And then it's also asking, all right, with this information, do you wish to continue? You can click yes or no. Go ahead, Eric.
Sweet.
Thank you. This one right here is letting you know that there are going to be some potential duplicates being added. So the litigation auxiliary checklist has already been added to this case checklist. Adding it again will cause duplicate items. Are you sure you wish to continue?
So anytime you apply an auxiliary checklist, if A10 has been used, it's going to give you that warning. Hey, this item is already on this checklist. Do you want us to apply it again? Yes or no? That's literally what it's telling you. Cool?
Mm-hmm.
So I've showed you how to add an auxiliary checklist, but where do I create it? Settings. Auxiliary checklist. You can label that item and then build it out the way you want to see it. Again,
right.
I'm going to add the task just like we did in our primary. Add the task, add the code, give it a color. And again, the same references that we saw in the primary are going to apply in the auxiliary.
Right. I do have a question here from Christy where she's asking, if you deactivate a checklist item, does it remove that item from all of the open cases?
So anytime you deactivate an item, it will ask you those items. No, 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 no. And now it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So going forward, that item will not appear in any of your checklists. If it's already in the checklist, it's going to remain.
Yeah. So whenever you open up a new case, it's not going to be added to that case checklist for moving forward, but it will still show up on the ones that are where it already exists.
So anytime it's applied in a case, and this can be anywhere in NEOS, and Raina, please correct me if I'm wrong. If you apply this item and you go back into your directories and you delete that item, it won't delete it. It'll just not let it going forward be able to see that item. And I say delete, deactivate that item. You won't see it going forward. Now, if you were to go to a case that was a year ago, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, where that item was there, it's still going to be there.
Exactly. So like if you want to, we can actually go ahead and open up one of the primary checklists and we can try to delete an item because there are some pop-ups that do come up after that. And I think that would be really good to go over right now.
Yeah, let's do it. So when I come in and I delete.
So right here, it's letting you know that you are deleting a checklist item. Are you sure you want to delete the following checklist item? It tells you what item you're deleting. It gives you the warning. This checklist item will be removed from any open cases where it exists with a status of open or blank. If this checklist item exists in cases with a status of done or NA in any closed cases, it will remain in the primary checklist marked as inactive, but it will no longer be added to any cases that are open from this point forward.
Very cool. I'm not going to delete it because it is one of our so. Hopefully that answers those questions. And I see the Q&A bubble is growing.
Yeah. All right. Is it okay if we go back to your case, Eric?
Sure.
All right. In there, Chris is asking if we can show him how the automation feature works.
Yes. So when you go into details, you see that item, send the client welcome letter. You can have the automation. And again, this is for Neos Pro. I can say when A10, and I'm going to change it to me, is done, I then want to add an additional action. Send a text message, send an email. Template, contact us, who's getting it, who's it coming from, and any other items that we wanted. Again, we've got to have that template ready to go. Then I can say, save it.
Mhm.
And now when I click on the details, I can see that call us automation is ready. Once I mark this item completed, at that point, that action is going to take place and happen. Oh, Raina, the bubble's growing.
All right. Lorraine is asking, so if a supporting staff member if supporting staff members are not assigned to a case, a position, they cannot use the checklist, correct?
They should still be able to use the checklist. They're just not going to get it when they log in. They're not going to see anything assigned to them because they're not truly assigned to the case, or that item's not assigned to them directly. So when you're in that case, please make sure you're setting those assigned to fields up correctly. And again, you as a firm can set this up in your administrative settings to be whatever names you want: attorney, working attorney, primary attorney, whatever, managing partner, legal assistant, paralegal, litigation paralegal, and on and on and on. You guys can build these out and have as many of these as you want. And again, just because Eric's not assigned to this case doesn't mean I can't go in and assign items to me. Yay?
Yes.
Good deal.
Let's see. Chris is asking, is there a way to stop staff from changing the status to NA on a checklist item?
Again, that's where we got into those settings earlier. Being able to edit.
Yep, the modify permission on checklist items.
Yep. So I'll just divvy back real quick. See the modify? Very cool. Awesome.
Let's see. Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, so we've talked about primary checklist. We've talked about adding items to it. We've talked about auxiliary checklist. Well, let's say that we've set this personal injury or MVA checklist up and it looks fabulous. But I don't want to recreate this again every single time I create a slip and fall, a med mal, a criminal, or whatever it may be. So when I go to my case types, didn't we have a test in here? Right here, I can go to actions, copy items, and I'll say I want it to come from MVA, save. So again, this is saying that these items haven't been in. This is the new case type. Again, it's giving you those. Anytime you see those error messages, I cannot beg you enough. Please read every single line. It is a major warning to tell you this is what's going on.
Yeah, so this one is just about staff role references. Again, this is letting you know that if that staff role does not exist within this case type, then it's going to go ahead and just assign these checklist items to whomever is selected as the primary staff. And then this is a follow-up for the case date references. It's the same thing that I had mentioned earlier, where if the case date is not set up in this case type, it's going to go ahead and switch it over to a manual reference date. And then right here, it's just letting you know that the checklist has been copied. However, it does have a smaller print letting you know that any duplicated codes have not been copied over. And that's just because, every code within your checklist does need to be unique.
So A5, if it was in this initial case types checklist and we brought the MVA one over and A5 existed, it just didn't bring it over again to give you 2 entries for it.
Mm-hmm.
And now you see this case in our test is completely filled with our MVA checklist. So it's that quick, that easy to pull a checklist from one that's already existing to one that we want to build out.
Mm-hmm. All right, Eric, I do have a question from Stephen. He's asking, what is the @ symbol in the codes?
It is just what they put in the code. That's it. So those codes are not unique except to that entry. So you can literally put whatever you want in there. In saying that, in the same vein, please label it the way you would want to read it, and not just you, everybody to read it and be able to understand that A is this, B is this, C is this. When we see follow-up, we know it's FU05, FU10, FU15, or whatever it may be. Follow-up, that's what it's there for. Review, that's literally it. Somebody was probably testing and said, you know what, we're not just going to use that. We want to use symbols. So a symbol was created.
Yep. Let's see. So Christy is asking, or she's saying, I have all permissions to allow me to change the checklist, but when I delete it and save, it's still there. Any reason why this would occur?
Go ahead, Brandon.
I just wanted to, I'll let you go ahead and field this one. Thank you, Eric.
One of the things I always tell everybody, anytime you're making those global changes or those global administrative changes, refresh your screen. If it's still there, log completely out, log completely back in. Sometimes it does take a second to do that refresh, and then it should push it on for you or push it out for you. Raina, if you wanted to elaborate on that, by all means.
Oh, yeah, I just I wanted to mention that if that, like, kind of like what that pop-up said earlier, if that item is marked as done, or I believe NA in any of the closed cases, that means that that checklist item will still show up in the primary checklist. But if you look at the active column, it may be deactivated, but it will still show up there.
Again, if it's applied, it's going to remain. Just going forward, you won't see it anymore.
And then we have Laura Ranson. She was asking, what is the purpose of status equals blank?
Come again, I'm sorry.
What is the purpose of a blank status?
When you're saying status, where?
So if you go over to the columns all the way to the right, yeah, so that's status right there.
I can see what's open, done, blank, just means it doesn't have a status at all. It should have been applied, and then usually you get the open or completed, done. You have blanks.
So right there, if you look at all of these, they are all actually manually referenced. So they are all, they all have a due date that still needs to be set. So like NA means that it's not applicable, right? Open means that it still needs to be done. Closed is, or done means that it's finished. But blank, as you can see here, they don't have a status per se because they haven't been given a due date just yet.
They don't have a final date yet to adhere to. That's why it's blank. Yep. Cool. Any other questions?
Oh, yeah.
Holy cowabunga.
Sorry. Chris was asking if you could show the message when changing a case, when changing case type, when the checklist items will copy or not.
Okay, I got you. I think I understand what you're saying. I'm going to go back to our same case type, go back to our primary checklist. I'm going to copy items from the auto one this time. That one?
Yeah, but usually so I think he was mentioning, I'm not sure if it's this one or the other one where it was saying
I'll copy the MVA one then. Again.
with the staff roles and the case date references.
Yeah, give me a second because let me try test 2. Yeah, there's not one. Yeah. Let me go to, and I'm just trying to find one real quick. Medical malpractice, primary checklist, actions, copy. I'm going to copy my MVA here.
Right here. So there's the staff role references, checklist items being copied, referencing staff roles that do not exist in this case type. Are the checklist items being copied, reference staff roles that do not exist in this case type. Do you wish to add those staff roles to this excuse me, sorry. Do you wish to add those staff roles to the staff assigned tab in this case type? Clicking yes will add those staff roles to the staff assigned tab in this case type and assign the appropriate staff role to the checklist items. Clicking no will not add the staff roles to the staff assigned tab in this case type and will assign the primary staff to the checklist items being copied.
And then, of course, it's almost the exact same message with the case date references. So if those case dates aren't in there, it doesn't have a date to go off of. That's essentially what it's saying to you. Then it's going to revert to a manual reference date or blank. Cool. Yes, we knew.
Oh, okay. So he said, so Chris just followed up saying, sorry, when you change a case to a different case type, there is a reference to checklist items that will copy or not. So if we go, and then if we change the case type in here.
I don't have the case type in here.
So if you go up to the 3 dots, I believe, next to quick add, there should be change case type right there.
No.
This is currently an MVA case. All right, so right here, so these are the options that you can choose for changing the case type. You can either keep all current checklist items on the checklist, or you can delete the checklist items right there. So, you just select whichever radio button is applicable, and then this item right here is just user-defined data. So you can choose to retain it or to delete the user-defined data. If you retain the user-defined data, I know this isn't really checklist related, but I just want to go over it really quickly. It will only be able to keep user-defined data where the field exists in the same tab as whatever case type it was beforehand.
And that's exactly what I was supposed to talk about. It's got to have A to A and B to B. So if you're changing it from MVA to MVA defense, both of those user-defined fields in both cases have to be the same, or it won't retain it. Cool. Chris, does that help? I hope.
Let's see. Laura is writing again. She's saying, thank you for this awesome webinar. So you're welcome, Laura.
Awesome. So, and I know we're getting a little bit of a time crunch, and I have another presenter that's going to come with us. So I don't want to shortchange Lauren whatsoever. So, Raina, was there anything else that we talked about? I know we talked about primaries, adding them to the case, copying the checklist, adding the checklist, doing the auxiliary checklist. Was there anything else?
We went over, I believe that we would all, yeah. So we went over, I'm pretty sure everything.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we should be good. Awesome. And then, any questions that we didn't answer during this live, we're going to go ahead and, we'll get answers out to you guys as soon as we possibly can. But yeah, I'll let you take over, Eric. Thanks.
All right. So with that being said, I want to introduce Miss Lauren. Hello, Lauren.
Hello again.
How are you?
I'm doing well. All right. Are we ready to dive into the knowledge base and self-service portal?
Let's rock and roll. I'm ready for this.
Okay. So, what it is, so I'm going to introduce you to the self-service portal, and in there contains the knowledge base and a lot of other really great resources. So how do we get there? We're going to go over to the top right of Neos, and we're going to click right there where it has that question mark. You're going to click help. And when you click there, you're going to be automatically authenticated into our self-service portal. So I'm going to take you off to the far right, that little what's new pane. When there is new information, and maybe if this has been updated and this is the first time you're coming in here since it's been updated, you're actually going to see a blue little circle on the top of that what's new tab. And it'll actually fly out automatically when you come in here. So we want to make sure you have the most up-to-date information available. So as you can see here, we just recently rolled out our February 2024 release. And in there, it kind of gives you a little taste about what to expect from that release. And it also reminds you to navigate to the knowledge base, which we are going to do in just one moment. And has information about our what's new page as well. We're going to navigate there in just one moment as well. And at the very top, we have our change log. Now, Eric, if you want to click that Neos change log there. So what this is a running list of all of the updates that we have made to Neos. And you might be looking at this and saying, this is pretty bare bones. But one thing that's really great about this is you can do Control F on your keyboard and search for documents, let's say, and anything related to documents, any changes that we've made. You can see on the far right in the scroll, there's so many changes we've made. So if you just want to quickly go through and see all the changes, this is the greatest resource you have. Okay, wonderful. And if you want to close this changelog tab, and we can go back to the knowledge base, and you can close this what's new pane by either clicking that what's new tab again or clicking the X on the far top right. Yep, perfect. And the next thing I want to show you is at the very top on the left, and that is search. So this is a content search. So let's say you want to search for training and you loved our webinar so much, but you maybe want a little bit more help for your firm. So what this is going to show you is by default, it'll show you the top 5. In this case, we only have 4. So that first article right there is the Neos training requests article. And Eric, if you want to double click or just single click that one real quickly, and we can show them that. And that should open up into a separate window. Do you see that, Eric? Possibly slide over.
Give me 1 second. I need a new share. I'm going to share the whole screen because I was just sharing Neos itself. There we go.
Okay, great. So you can see that this window pops up, and if you click where it says click here, it will open up a separate page where you can enter in what kind of training you'd like to have. We offer a lot of different variety, reporting, administrative, general user, or just pick something of your own liking, and we will help you out with information on how to set that up. So if you want to close that, we can return to the portal. And then if there were more, if you search for, say, documents and more came up, you would see the first 5 and then clicking the number off to where it says, yep, you can try it out. And you could see we are showing the 5 most viewed articles related to documents, but there's actually 165 or so. Can't really see that. Yep. And so if you clicked that, that list would drop down even further, and you can just kind of navigate to all those other articles related to documents. Okay, so let's click home. Perfect. And now this middle section is the FAQ. So this is the top 5 most viewed articles. So chances are, maybe if there's something that you're interested in learning about a bit more, maybe it's one of these articles. Building advanced search criteria is chock full of everything to get you started on creating advanced reporting and all the different filters we have available, and some other ones that really are most viewed and that really might be able to help you out right off the bat. Now, if you scroll down a little bit more, the next section is our service catalog. So I'm going to take you into the knowledge base first. So if you want to click that, and again, that will open up in a separate window. And so first, this search is both a keyword search and a document, like an article number search. So you might have seen in the chat, I was putting in some related article numbers. So just as an example, if you just typed in 1452, Eric, you would see that that one that comes up is the same article we just looked at for training requests. And then if you click that X, perfect. And now you'll see in the first left pane, you'll see NEOS. And if you click the caret on the left there, we have all these articles related to different areas of NEOS. So where they exist in the product is where you'll likely find content on that. So if you want to use checklists as an example, Eric, yep, if you drill that down, you can see that checklist is broken into auxiliary, case, checklist summary, primary checklist, etc. So there's many articles and you can drill down even further. And let's say you're in checklist and you want to search for one particular thing, you can do a search and then drill down and only see those articles related to checklists rather than having to go through so many. And then that middle pane just shows you the titles of all the articles in that category you selected. And we suggest to use that drop down in the middle there at the top where it says last updated. We suggest to keep it to last updated just so you can have the most up-to-date information first, but you can also change it to most viewed if you're looking for what are the most viewed in that category, and that might help guide you along quicker. And then in the right portion, while we welcome, you can obviously print these articles or keep them on your desktop. We let you know that the articles are updated very often, and we want you to have the most up-to-date information always. So one thing that you can do if there's, let's say this modifying a primary checklist item is one that you know that you want to reference, there's a lot of content in here and you want to quickly go back to it without having to search for it every single time. Well, you can do that with the article number, and you might be saying, I don't see an article number anywhere on this. And I'm going to show you an easy way to find that article number. If you click the print icon on the far right, on this window that opens up in the URL at the top, you are going to see where it says article ID equals. That is going to be either a 3 or a 4-digit number, and you can just jot that down so you can easily reference that article number and it doesn't change. So you can always refer back to it should you have any, if you want to quickly reference a few articles that you're going to look at often. So let's give that a close. And we can also close the knowledge base and go back into the self-service portal. Okay, so I'm going to take you through a few of these areas here. Ideas and enhancements. Eric, if you want to give that a click, we actually have an article about this. So this is where if you want to suggest something to make NEOS even better, something is these are like a repository of suggestions. So as you can see, there are current suggestions, but maybe you're not finding what you're looking for. You can surely add your own suggestion. We have an article on how to do that. So I would suggest take a look first and see if it exists, because if it does, you can add a vote to it. And when you add your vote, we look at all of these, but I will say that the ones with the highest votes will maybe get quicker attention and, to see if maybe we can move that along faster. So definitely take a look there, see if there's something that, you have an idea for making NEOS even better. And we can close that tab, Eric, and refer back to this view. What's new? Yes, if you click what's new, this is just like the changelog, but prettier. It has all of the information related to the release and all the prior releases. So you can scroll through to see the different ones. And in each of these, Eric, for example, if you wanted to click the February release, yep, I think if you scroll down, perhaps. Nope. Okay. I think we just need to click one of them, perhaps. Okay. So this was a prior one, but as you scroll through here, you'll see all the enhancements and the features. There'll be a little bit more descriptive about what has changed and what's been added. There'll often be a video and just a lot more information that you can gain from the release. So definitely take a look here and keep abreast of all that has come with the release. Okay, awesome. If you want to close this tab, Eric, and we can go back. Okay, NEOS University. This is a really wonderful resource for everyone at your firm to take these courses. These are free courses that are available anytime. We save your place. So let's say you can't get through the whole course in one sitting. You don't need to worry about saving. You'll create an account, and once you sign in, it's automatically saved. And these go through all the areas of NEOS. So we have beginner training and administrator training. And once you finish, we give you a Credly badge that you can add to your social media. So it's a really great resource for just, getting a start to finish, end-to-end look of NEOS and understanding. So I would really recommend that. And then if you want to close that, Eric. Okay, and then in the Learning Hub, this is our access to our video, all of our video content. So you'll see some of these videos existed related to the release that you saw on the What's New page. We have pretty much every feature of NEOS covered here, in addition to our pre-recorded webinars. Yep, and our NEOS Academy. So all of those previous NEOS Academies are also located here. So if you've attended an academy, likely you have received an email with the link to the video, but you can always come here and look at all these prior ones. So these are really great resources. Again, available anytime, all included with NEOS. Okay, if you want to close this. And those on-demand webinars are also located inside the Learning Hub. And we already went through the change log. All right, I want to go through with you get support. So let's say you've exhausted all your resources and you've looked into what you can, but it's just you're not getting the answer you need. So click Get Support, Eric, please. So here is where you would create the ticket to support, and you'd enter your full name, your email, your company name, your phone number, and the subject of what your issue is. And of course, if you can add more clarity, more details about your description of your issue, that would really help, and any attachments. But what I want to point your attention to first is if you click the subject line, Eric, and then if you start typing document, we will populate some top articles related to document. But one thing you can do is, let's say you're looking for browse documents, you can easily click that and navigate to that article. But let's say that's not what you're looking for and you actually want a document link. So start typing link, Eric. And yep, actually, if you remove the S from documents, perfect. All right, wonderful. So as you continue to type, we are suggesting more articles related to what your issue could be. So maybe it's actually linking document type categories, and that is the answer potentially that you're looking for. So this would save you time from having to submit the ticket, and definitely take advantage of that if you can. Awesome. All right, let's click cancel. Oh, not close. Let's click cancel on this one. Okay, and let's scroll back down. And then the last couple are related to our add-ins. So these link to our knowledge base articles. So it's a quick link right to them for installing the Outlook add-in, the Word add-in, and the QuickBooks integrator. And in each of these sections in the knowledge base, there are many other articles on like using and tagging and creating templates and posting checks and deposits. So much more content in the knowledge base, but these show you like a quick link just to obtaining the add-in. And I think that about covers it. So Eric, back to you.
Woohoo! Well, at this time, goodness gracious, we're at 12:55. I just want to take a second and thank Lauren and Raina for joining me, and everybody in attendance. Please, I can't thank you enough. Seeing the attendee list grow like it did today, I think this is the biggest one we've ever had in the 14, 15, 16 months I've been doing this. I think there was over 260 people at one point here. So that is absolutely fabulous. And I love it. That means we're doing what we should be doing, and we're doing it right, because you guys are coming to get this knowledge, get this content, and enjoying it. So for the last couple minutes, I'm going to bring up a share. And please, if you need the NEOS certification information, it's there. If you need the training classes, it's there. And of course, if you want to sign up for the next academy, definitely want to see everybody next month. I appreciate it. Again, thank you, everyone. We're going to be here for the next couple minutes, and I'll try to see if I can answer some of these questions. If not, we are going to close at 1, but I appreciate, again, everyone in attendance. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of the week.
Thanks to everyone for attending.
Thank you very much. Bye.